it looks like it was a demolition. I mean, I've seen a demolition before. Look at this video of the building going down. Yeah, there you go. And then it just kind of collapses all at once. Yeah, that's a video. I'm actually going to show you a side-by-side because I'm just going, that really looks like a controlled demolition. Look at this side-by-side. That you don't even know which one is Building 7. That's just a side-by-side demolition and Building 7. So this obviously inspired tons of conspiracy theories, which were only furthered by this interview of Larry talking about how he told the fire department chief to pull it. Now I'm going to tell you what he says about why he said that. But first, let's listen to Larry Silverstein, Lucky Larry, in his own words.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
That's very interesting. A lot of things interesting. So here I go with common sense again. I hate this, but, you know, on a day like this, people running, screaming, being buried in rubble, looking for loved ones, fire department must have received how many phone calls? And you're telling me that the fire commander thought to himself in this emergency, hey, I should call and get the opinion of the building owner on how to do my job. I don't know. That strikes me as weird. Maybe I'm not a powerful person in New York City, because I always imagined that, like, if my house was on fire and I wasn't there because I was at the dermatologist, conveniently, thank goodness, and it was just burning down, I just don't think that the fire commander would call me and say, hey, what's your opinion, man? It's just burning. And then I would say, like, yeah, pull it. Like, it's my job to direct the fire department how to do their job. It just seems weird that I would be in touch with them. Is that a normal thing? Maybe it is. Maybe this is a New York City thing. Weird. I was born in New York, and I just don't remember that, like, buddy thing. Like, here's who we call. Usually they do their job, and there was a lot going on that day. But apparently this guy thought, let me call the owner of the building and get his opinion on what we should do about Building 7. And so when Larry was pushed on this, like, why would you say pull it? By the way, in general, pull what? He was like, oh, I just meant, like, pull the operation. Like, he's saying, I meant let's not send any more fire department people. Let's not send any more firemen in there. We don't want any more loss of life. So pull them out, because, again, this would have been his decision somehow. That's what he meant. And then people looked into that story, and there were some holes because the fire commander said that he never spoke to Larry. And there's one independent journalist named Luke Rutkowski who decided to confront Larry about his story not matching up with the memory of the fire chief. Take a listen.
This one's for Larry Silverstein. Last time we talked, sir, I asked you if you could address some of the 9/11 conspiracy theories that you're accused of. Sadly, your response has actually invited more of them. I mean, for the record, everybody knows your infamous comments on PBS where you said pull Building 7. On 5/25 on the day of 9/11.
They were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Your official response was that it was the firefighters. My question is, it was pretty clear that you meant the building, and if it was the firefighters, they already are outside the building by 12. Because the water lines were broken.
Ask the question.
And the fire chief that you said you spoke to, Fire Chief Negro, denies talking to you on that day of 9/11. Can you answer those questions and address the theories against you?
I suggest everybody's consideration that we all look at the thousands of pages of testimony that have been rendered in the many years since 9/11. And let's use today's session for some of this.
Are you aware of testimony of bombs in the building before the building collapsed, sir? Are you aware of that testimony? Sir, there's testimony by Barry Jennings. Sir, you don't have to touch me. Listen, I'll walk away. All I'm asking is a question. I don't have to be kicked out. It's a legitimate question. You don't have to put your hands on me. But all I'm saying is, no, I'm not. I'm here asking. The question was not answered. That's why I have a grievance. Larry Silverstein was told not to come into work. That's why him, his daughter, and his son never showed up to work on 9/11. He put an insurance policy on the buildings. Reporters, do your job. Please ask some questions.
Well, obviously, Luke is crazy. It's inappropriate to ask questions. Larry really is just that lucky, just like tremendously lucky. And so what if he misremembered the story about speaking to the fire chief and saying, pull it? You know, these things happen in a tragedy where you recall speaking to someone that maybe doesn't remember speaking to you or whatever. Again, the purpose of this episode is to tell you the things that I'm going to need you to forget because I am sick of these conspiracy theories. You know, on the other side of this, there are some people who really are just that unlucky. And one such example, and so they're telling you, listen, you got to just believe in his luck. Larry's lucky, but BBC really was just unlucky when they accidentally reported that Building 7 had fallen 23 minutes before it fell. So what I just showed you, yeah, they already reported 23 minutes before it fell that it had fallen. And they already had the pre-baked excuse for why it fell, despite the fact that it was not hit by a plane. Anyways, just take a listen to the report that came out 23 minutes too early.
More on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attack.
Well, the building had been weakened. You know how it is sometimes, like when your house is on fire and so then the house next to you just completely collapses. No? Hello? None of you guys never seen that situation happen? Well, sometimes if there's a house on fire, just the house across the street can get stressed out and just feels fundamentally weakened. And Larry says to pull it. You know, because it's just, there's no point in losing any more life. And he says that to, we don't know who. Doesn't matter because he's at a dermatologist appointment. Anyways, let's move on. I feel like this is just getting crazy. It doesn't matter that they reported a little bit early. They had a perfectly valid excuse. They said that they copied the report from another publication, Reuters. Reuters said it first, which doesn't really answer the question as to why any of them said it first before the tower had actually fallen, given that the tower was not directly next door. There were also buildings in between that did not fall, but this tower did. You know, there is actually something interesting to know, in case you haven't looked into it, about Building 7, World Trade Center Building 7. Do you know who the tenants are? Like who was working there at the time? Well, you had the CIA, the DOD, the Secret Service, the IRS, and the SEC. All of that was what was going on in that building, as well as other multinational investment banks. Very interesting. That tower fell in under 7 seconds, like a textbook type of implosion of some sort, regardless of it not being struck by an airplane or having any kind of structural damage. It just went down. Yeah, you're like, I don't even know which one of these is supposed to be Building 7. But yeah, that is what happened. And like I said, that was reported 23 minutes before it had even happened. Who could have imagined it? Who could have been so unlucky as to have accidentally predicted that it was going to fall?